morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. I didn't intend to do another live stream today. I was going to do Delphi. I was going to do a recorded video on Delphi. But I've been watching this case, a really worrying case out of the Dominican Republic. I've been watching this case since it first hit the YouTube streets, I guess you would say. So pretty much since day one. And this is the case of a 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student called Sudiksha Konanki. She's of Indian origin, and she went for a little vacay with 5 friends to the Dominican Republic. They got there on the 3rd of March, and then in the early hours of the 6th of March, so just 3 days into their vacay, the spring break vacay, something terrible happened. Something really terrible happened. And she hasn't been seen since. She hasn't been seen since going down to the beach with a young man. So the young man in question has now been named. He's 22-year-old Joshua Riibe. I think I'm saying his name right. And he's a person of interest, not a suspect, but he is a person of interest. Now, over the last few days, there's a whole bunch of surveillance video been coming out, like, you know, drip by drip by drip, little bits and pieces. So I'm going to show you the surveillance video. Now, the latest surveillance that came out just last night really troubled me. I've got to tell you, really troubled me. And these two were absolutely wasted. We used to call it wankered. Absolutely wankered they were. And that troubles me. Really, really troubles me. So I know that this has had a lot of publicity. Like, I don't know whether it's only had publicity in the US and then, you know, on YouTube, or whether this has gone international. But like I said, I've been following it since it hit the YouTube streets. But look, I'm going to say, the first time I heard about the details, my brain went to, this is another Natalie Holloway. If you remember Natalie Holloway from, what, about 18 years ago now? She was on holiday in Riibe, and she met a young man by the name of Joran van der Sloot, and it appears that he murdered her. He hasn't been charged with her murder. The statute of limitations ran out on Riibe. But he is in prison. He got done for another murder, a different murder. 2005. So 20 years, nearly 20 years. Is it really? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Nearly 20. Is it really? I thought it was being generous, saying 18 years. I was thinking it's maybe more like 15, but God, doesn't time fly? But now I'm not so sure. Now I'm really not so sure about this case being another Natalie Holloway. May the 30th, 2005. Wow. Wow. So nearly 20 years. Wow. I can understand why people think this guy's suspicious. But I'm not willing to throw this young man to the wolves quite yet. I'm really not. I'm really not. But we're going to go through the case. I'm going to show you all the surveillance video I can find. And we're going to discuss what possibly could have happened. What's his story? Well, he has spoken out. He has spoken out. He's not done any video interviews, but he has spoken out. And his story, honestly, I think is believable based on what we know about that location. So we're going to start with that location. I haven't said hello to anybody, but hello, everybody. I'm not going to go back and say hellos now because I'm ready to share my screen. Okay, so this is the Dominican Republic, and it is the Riibe Republica Hotel where these guys were staying. So Sudiksha was with 5 friends. Joshua was with a group. I don't know how many he was with. They didn't know each other. Sudiksha was from the University of Pittsburgh and Joshua was from Missouri. I think he's originally from Iowa, but he was college in Missouri. So this is the hotel, and you can see here it's actually set quite back from the beach, but you've got these like 3 pools, you've got this like I don't know, sheltered area, and then you've got the beach. Okay. So it's an all-inclusive resort, which basically means you can eat as much as you want and you can drink as much as you want. And I think that's the problem. That's the problem. It's all-inclusive, alcohol on tap. And I think this is the heart of this case. I think this is a pair who didn't know their own limits, a pair who were all out for a good time, and why shouldn't they be? You know, they're on vacay, spring break, but they didn't know their own limits. And that's what concerns me so much about the latest surveillance footage that's come out. But we're going to start at the beginning. We're actually not going to start quite at the beginning because I've given you the beginning. But so early hours of March the 6th, there was a power outage in the hotel, and that seems to be something that's pretty frequent in that hotel. There has been somebody that's spoken out about the problems at that resort. I'm going to play that interview with Ashley Banfield, and that person seemed to have a terrible time when she was there. But this night, the early hours of March the 6th, there was a power outage. Now, it does appear that there was some power, because it does appear that the surveillance videos stayed on, like the surveillance cameras stayed on. So I don't know whether it was a complete power outage or whether it was just like selective, like part of the hotel. But when there's power outages, the temperature skyrockets in the rooms, so people go outside. So one surveillance video, which I'm going to show them all in a few minutes. One surveillance video shows Sudiksha, Joshua, like arm in arm, and then 2 female friends. I assume that they're 2 of Sudiksha's female friends, heading off down to the beach at something past 4 in the morning. Shortly before 6 a.m., the two friends come back, like they're seen on surveillance, heading back. Now, there isn't any cameras on the beach itself. So you see them leaving and then you see them returning. Joshua returns shortly before 10 a.m. So a bunch of hours later. Sudiksha doesn't return at all. And Joshua's story is that they got washed out to sea. So he managed to get them both out of the water, and then he passed out. So he doesn't know what happened to Sudiksha after that. All right, so this is him speaking out to the Mail Online a couple of days ago. Actually, only yesterday. Time flies. So the Iowa college student linked to the disappearance of spring breaker Sudiksha Konanki has broken his silence as more details about his personal life emerge. Joshua Riibe, 22, was the last person seen with the 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh junior before she went missing from the Rio Republica resort in Punta Cana, I think, in the early hours of March the 6th. Okay, so he's been at the center of this case. He wasn't named originally. They just said, you know, they were talking to a young man last seen with her. The Dominican Republic officials, authorities seem to believe that Sudiksha drowned, whereas American authorities, who don't have jurisdiction, by the way, they seem to think there's something a little bit more that's gone on here, where there's the possibility of potentially foul play. So the FBI have gone to the island and are assisting the Dominican authorities with their inquiries. The FBI are involved, but he's had his passport confiscated and he's not allowed to leave the hotel complex. So basically, he's on house arrest, I guess, unofficially. And his lawyer is now saying, look, you're either going to charge him or you're going to let him go. Like, you're going to let him leave. You know, there's no evidence. There's no evidence of a crime. There's zero evidence of a crime. Let's just be very clear. Zero evidence of a crime. But if there was a crime, the crime scene would be the beach. And it's almost impossible to investigate a crime on a beach because you've got the moving of the sand, you've got the waves, you've got the tides. Almost impossible to collect evidence on a beach unless the crime's right there, you know, like somebody's dead right there. But I think Joshua's lawyer, I think he's absolutely right in saying, look, you're either going to let my client go or you are going to charge him. You're going to have to charge him to keep him. But Joshua Riibe has been cooperative throughout the whole, like he's had loads of interviews. The Dominican Republic Attorney General has even interviewed him, and he has been cooperative. So he doesn't appear to have anything to hide. Now, in the days before he was actually named, the media have been saying that he was giving conflicting statements. I'm not sure that he was really. I think it was just probably things leaking out and different, you know, sections of the media picking up on slightly different angles. So I'm not sure how conflicting his story was. If it was conflicting, I think it's because he was absolutely wasted. They both were. And the surveillance video that came out last night absolutely proves that they were. Absolutely proves that they were. Anyway, so this is his story. And I love how the media are portraying him as a hulking wrestler. Right? One of the headlines on one of the media outlets was hulking wrestler named. Listen, he did wrestling in college. He's not a hulking wrestler. That's just ridiculous. That's sensationalizing. Anyhow, so they went into the water. It was about waist deep. This is his words. This is what Joshua has told the Mail Online. They were kissing a little, so things were getting a little bit romantic. And then a wave came, and like a large wave came and knocked them both down and sent them back into the ocean. He is a lifeguard in a pool. So not in the sea, in a pool. So very different circumstances. But according to Joshua, this is Joshua right here. According to Joshua, he managed to grab Sudiksha and get them both to the shore. So to the safety. But in doing so, he swallowed a lot of water. Obviously, this is salt water. So he got to the shore. I don't know whether it actually explains it here. Isn't she just the most beautiful, beautiful young woman? Absolutely stunning young woman. I mean, it's so tragic. Whatever's happened to her is absolutely, completely and totally tragic. Here we are. Yeah, we got his words here. So I kept trying to get her to breathe, but that didn't allow me to breathe all the time, and I swallowed a lot of water. So contrary to what he previously stated, well, we don't know what he's previously stated because this is the only time he's actually spoken to the media. All right. So he said he was able to get them both to the shore, and then he started being sick, vomiting, because he'd swallowed salt water. Well, you know what happens when you swallow salt water? You're sick. So the story makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. So he says, when I finally reached the ground on the beach, I held her in front of me. She wasn't out of the water. She was knee deep and walking at an angle out of the water. So he got them both to the shore. All right. So the last moments he saw her, she was still in the water, but he just assumed she was heading back to the sun loungers where they'd left their clothes, like their shoes. So her friends and his friends had taken their phones back to the hotel with them. So they didn't have any phones or wallets or anything like that. But they did have like shoes on, and she had like a long dress on. So she would have taken that off, I assume. So he assumed that she was heading back that way, but he was just vomiting up this salt water. So last time I saw her, I asked her if she was okay. I didn't hear her reply because I started vomiting all the water I'd swallowed. After vomiting, I looked around. I didn't see anyone. I thought she had grabbed her things and left. I think what happened is he passed out. I don't think he saw her leaving or what happened to her because he passed out. Maybe only for a very short space of time. But he then claims that he got up and went to the sun loungers and fell asleep on the sun loungers. And that's why he was only seen getting back to the hotel shortly before 10 a.m. He was woken up being bitten by mosquitoes. So he's passed out. I think he was that wasted. He's vomited. He's passed out, maybe only for a short space of time. He's been confused. He's been dazed. He's gone to the sun lounges and just zonked out for probably several hours. Probably several hours. Now, the media are making a lot of, like, some questions he's not willing to answer, like in police interviews, because his lawyer has told him that there's certain questions that he's not answering. But that's his account of events. Okay, that's his account of events. All right. This is from NewsNation last night, and they've put together a bunch of the surveillance. So, as I said, over the last few days, bits and pieces of surveillance have been coming out. And I think we're now able to piece together pretty much what happened in those last hours. So she made it to knee-deep water and was swept back out to sea. That's a little hard to believe. Well, it isn't hard to believe when you realise that 4 people holidaying in that exact location all drowned just a few weeks ago, back in January. 4 holidaymakers at that location all drowned. And we'll get into it. We'll get into it with the interview from the person who stayed at that hotel. But there was when the waves are dangerous, the hotel put a red flag on the beach. As if anybody's meant to know what the red flag means. But there was a red flag that night, that there was dangerous, it was a dangerous tide, dangerous waves. So I absolutely believe that it's possible that he was like crawled to the shore vomiting, and she was kind of walking like knee deep in the water, and another wave came and took her. I think it's very possible that could have happened. Because they were both absolutely wasted. How do we know that she didn't walk in the wrong direction? That she was trying to get to the sun loungers, but she wasn't. She was heading like in the wrong direction. So heading along the shore rather than inshore. We don't know. Mike has been a member for 10 months. Red means stop. Yeah, but you've got to remember that these people are holidaymakers. Most of them are young. It's all you can drink. All you can drink, all you can eat. Are they really going to be looking for a red flag? I don't know. All right, so we've got a whole bunch of surveillance. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to stop it. And the latest one that has come out really shows just how wasted they were.
Mystery and intrigue are still growing in the case of that missing American college student on spring break in the Dominican Republic. This is some new video. It surfaced of the 20-year-old at a hotel bar with friends before her disappearance. The University of Pittsburgh student was last seen March 6th, sparking a desperate search for with few clues, but her family still demanding answers. Let's get to Alex Capriello, who's live with the very latest.
Yeah, heartbreaking story NewsNation's been following closely. That includes obtaining this brand new video of the missing college student, Sudiksha Konanki, in the hours leading up to her death. Let's take a look together. First, in this video, you can see the 20-year-old highlighted wearing that long white dress. At this point in the night, she seems coherent, walking with friends throughout that crowded Dominican Republic hotel lobby.
So we don't know what time this is at, but her and her friend are walking normally. I assume this is fairly early on in the night, and this is a very big, very crowded hotel. Like all you can drink, all you can eat. It's like my idea of hell rather than paradise, but I don't know.
But then also this new video, a much different.
Right, watch this. Watch this. This shows just how wasted they are.
Scene, Nicole. Konanki can be seen with her back to the bar.
So that's her being sick. That's Joshua. Also appears to be vomiting. So the two people who head down to the beach and who don't come back are both vomiting in the... There's no timestamp on this video. But shortly before these guys go down to the beach and allegedly, according to Joshua, both nearly drown, they're both chucking their guts up because they're so wasted.
Are possibly vomiting. Also seen, the man authorities say was the last person to see Konanki alive. His back is also turned to the camera, also possibly getting sick. Later, another very clear visual of Konanki. She is now back to the bar, appearing.
So now she's thrown up all of the alcohol. She's ready to go again. Now, the possibility that they're both being sick because they're just so drunk is a very real one, given that it's all inclusive. Go to the bar and just get as much beer or spirits or shots down your neck as you can. Right? But also, what if they're experiencing, let's say, something like food poisoning, which is very common when people are vacating. Especially given that this hotel doesn't have a very good reputation. What if there's other substances involved? We don't know. But whatever it is that's making them sick, they are now going to be very dehydrated. Right? So they've both been sick. She continues drinking. Presumably he does as well, although we don't know. They're going to be really dehydrated. What happens when you're dehydrated? What happens to your brain when you're dehydrated? I'll tell you. You don't think straight. You don't think in a logical manner. So you're drunk, you're dehydrated, you think it's a great idea, absolutely great idea, to go into the ocean in the middle of the night when there's no one else around, even though there's a red flag up, which they haven't seen, because it's nighttime. How are you meant to see a red flag in the nighttime? They could have hit the salad bar. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like they're hitting the salad bar, though, does it? Doesn't really look like they're hitting. That's not the salad bar, is it? That's the bar, not the salad bar. That's the bar. So at 4 a.m., they decide to go to the beach for a swim or something. Her two friends come back. At 6 a.m. So what they were all doing down there for nearly 2 hours, who knows? And then Joshua only comes back 4 hours later because he's crashed out on a sun lounger. Nobody knows what's happened to Sudiksha. Nobody knows. I think this is really troubling because it shows how vulnerable they both were. Not just her, but him as well. It shows how vulnerable they both were. It shows how they are likely to have been thinking very irrationally. There's a distinct possibility that his memories are not absolutely 100% accurate, because if he's vomiting up a bunch of salt water I think he passed out. I think he passed out on the shore. Doesn't realise he passed out on the shore, and then he wakes up on a sun lounger 4 hours later. So, to me, his story makes sense. I'm not saying that he's innocent. Well, he obviously is innocent till he's proven guilty in a court of law by a jury of his peers and all that. I'm not saying that there's no possibility of foul play. I'm just saying that my initial fears of this being another Natalie Holloway scenario, I feel less strongly about now, having seen this bunch of surveillance video. Riley Strain vibes, yeah.
Joyful, jumping up and down, and then hugging her friends. NewsNation is not publicly naming the man seen in the video because he is not considered a suspect at this time.
Everybody else has named him. I don't know why NewsNation are not named him. Like, he's actually come out and spoken to the media. So I don't know why they're not naming him. Now, this is the last time they're seen on surveillance. This is them heading to the beach. And it looks like Joshua is either videoing them or taking selfie. I think he's videoing them. I think he's taking a video because he's got his arm up for quite a while.
Police originally listed him as a person of interest, but has retracted that statement since. Regardless, his attorneys reportedly say his passport has been confiscated and he's not allowed to leave the island while this investigation continues. The latest reports also indicate he and Konanki found themselves all alone in the ocean, nearly drowning. The man says he pulled the 20-year-old to the shore, but lost sight of her when he was throwing up ocean water that he accidentally swallowed. He claims he returned to his hotel room without even realizing she was missing. Investigators at this point, they're using...
And then people are saying, well, why didn't he raise the alarm? Like, as soon as he realized that she wasn't there, why didn't he raise the alarm? Because he passed out for 4 hours. Like, he didn't know that there was anything wrong. He didn't know this girl. You know, it wasn't like they were, you know, they'd gone vacating together. Like, he just met her there. So he's been vomiting. He's passed out. He's slept for 4 hours on a sun lounger. He's got back to his hotel, probably not really remembering a whole lot of what happened. And then it suddenly dawns on him, you know, that there was a girl with him. And where did she go? I don't know.
Boats, canines, divers, and drones to try to find the missing student. Earlier, I spoke to a former FBI agent who tells me he does not believe that Konanki drowned.
The body probably would have been recovered by now if she had drowned in that immediate area. She would have drowned very close to the shore, and the body would not, I would think, drifted that far by the time the authorities got onto it.
Interpol
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the things that experts say, the things that quote-unquote experts say in a minute. Just want to play this video because this has got more surveillance on it. So this must be earlier on in the night. Can't tell what time that says. So this is them. This is the group of them. That's Joshua and Sudiksha, I think. Or are they them? So there's a whole bunch of them. So basically, earlier on in the night, there's a whole bunch of them out there. And then this is them heading to the beach. I don't think that's the last time they were seen because there's two other people with them. like I said, there's been a whole bunch. Here we go. This is the last time they're seen. This is them heading down to the beach. There's a whole bunch of surveillance that's been released. So basically anything with that pair on it seems to have found its way into the public domain. I'm guessing it's hotel staff who's releasing it. I don't know. I don't know who's releasing it all. So that's Joshua and Sudiksha. And then that's the two friends. And then this is shortly. Oh no, this is a replay. It really does look like he's taking a video. But the phones are not missing. The phones are back in their room. So she will have probably got her friends to bring her phone back, like saying that she's going for a swim, which makes sense. And then these are the two coming back. This is shortly before 6 a.m. So I'd be interested to know what their story is. I'd be interested to know whether, like, they were there with them. So they're walking to the beach about, I think it's about 4:15. And then shortly before 6 a.m., they're coming back. So they've been with this pair. Well, what were they doing? What was their behavior like? Were they all swimming? What was going on? Or were they just all like, I don't know, sitting on the beach in the cool weather because it was too hot in the hotel? I don't know. So I'd be interested in to know what these two have to say. That, you know, their story is going to be pretty interesting, I think. And then I want to see Joshua coming back. There's one of Joshua coming back on his own. Don't know whether they've got it on this, because that's just them two. No, we haven't got Joshua coming back on this one. But he comes back on his own, looking pretty like worse for wear.
Each Friday, all spinners will be winners. Guaranteed wins each Friday.
That's him with the cops, I'm assuming. Oh, this dog. They've had the sniffer dogs out. This dog is having a great old time. I don't think this dog realizes he's working. This dog is having a great time. He's like, oh, beach day. Beach day. Watch this dog.
Each Friday,
all go away
spinners
with your advert.
Will be winners. Guaranteed wins each Friday until the 28th of March. Sky Vegas.
The handler has to run after him. Don't grab his lead. That's me and Tilly. He's like, woohoo, beach day! Beach day! Right, that is a dog having fun. That is a dog. That is a dog not on a scent. That's a dog not on a scent. He's not even hunting very hard either. He's not even hunting very hard to find the scent. He's having fun. All right. Let's talk about some experts, because I do love a good expert. I do love it when experts come out and say all they know. So this is another Mail Online exclusive. They're trying to drum up something that maybe it is, but most likely it isn't, honestly. Missing spring breaker. Is that even a word? Spring breaker? Sudiksha Konanki is unlikely to have drowned after disappearing from her beach resort in the Dominican Republic. Private investigators who specialise in missing persons said it's possible that Konanki may still be alive, but time was running out to find her. We can't let this be dismissed as a drunk college student on spring break story, investigator Toby Braun told dailymail.com. Yes, but they were wasted, so it actually is college students who are drunk. They're drunk. That's exactly what a kidnapper would want. Shifting attention away from real suspicions. Konanki, 20, has not been seen since the early hours of March the 6th, as we know. Okay, so we know that they went down to the beach at 4:15. Dominican officials were quick to write off her death as a drowning, though they appeared to be keeping a more open mind in the past few days. But Braun, along with an expert on oceans, I hope they don't ask Peter Falding for his opinion. Because, all right, would almost certainly have washed up on the shore by now if she drowned. Okay, maybe. Lots of people do wash up. Lots of people don't. An accidental drowning seems unlikely. The water wasn't rough that night. No high tide, no rip currents. So she likely wasn't simply swept away, said Braun. That's completely contradictory to what the hotel themselves said and what people who were staying at the hotel said. Completely different story. So I don't know where Toby Braun got his information from. Keeping focus on her likely being alive increases the chances of finding her. Stephen Leatherman, a professor of Earth and Environment at Florida International University, also thought 8 days was too long for her body to be at sea. If she drowned, her body would have already surfaced in the warm Caribbean waters. I've served as an expert witness for 30 years, so I've been involved in many cases where someone drowned in a rip current, but the body was always recovered. I think that there must be another explanation for her disappearance. Leatherman, known as Dr. Beach, for his encyclopedic knowledge of coastlines, also rubbished a theory that her body was stuck on a reef. Dominican Navy Vice Admiral Agustin Murillo Rodriguez floated that theory this week, but said so far searches of local reefs haven't found her. The body may be stranded on the reefs, on the coral reefs, which is why the Navy has deployed a team of Navy and local divers to comb the entire sea where there are reefs or corals, he told media. There's that dog again. Oh, bless him. Leatherman said that didn't make sense with the topography of the ocean and how far Konanki's body would have to travel to even reach the reefs. He said the distance from the shoreline to the front of the breakers was 85 feet, with the whitewater extending 166 feet offshore. The reef, where some waves were breaking, was nearly 2,000 feet offshore, which was far too far away to be a real factor. The chance of her being stuck in a reef is pretty remote, Rip currents do carry at all depths. And if she was struggling, she would be high up in the water, not down on the bottom, he said. Also, in warm water like that, the gases in the body build up as flesh decays. That's what makes the bodies come to the surface. The warmer the water, the faster that happens. And she's in the Caribbean. That's pretty warm water. So she's not sitting on the bottom somewhere, that's for sure. All right. Absolutely true. Warm water, the body decomposes very quickly. Like 2, 3, 4 days, you're looking at float time in warm water. However, what's also in the ocean? That could influence the possibility of a body being brought back to the shore? And I don't just mean the current. I don't just mean the possibility that because there was high waves and there was erratic tides in at that time. I don't just mean that. What else? Marine life. Marine life would be all over a body washed out. Sharks. I don't know how far into the shore sharks come, but there's a whole bunch of marine life out there. You don't have to be washed out to a coral reef and get stuck on a reef. Once marine life gets involved, then you've got literally nothing left but bones, and the bones don't float. You may get bones that do wash up, but they wash up in random places. Like there's also like Southport Beach near me. All sorts of stuff washes up on Southport Beach. Like I found a dolphin vertebra, like a spine bone from a dolphin. Dog bones I've got from the Southport Beach. We don't have dolphins around here that don't come, they don't come in to, the North Sea, what is it, the Irish Sea. I mean, you might get an occasional straggler, I don't know. But it's highly likely a dolphin vertebra that washes up on Southport Beach wasn't just hanging out and died at Southport. That's travelled a long way. Anyhow, what really happened? What was really happening on this beach? All right. So this is one of the earlier reports. This is from March the 12th. Before college student vanished on beach, resort says there were strong currents and very high waves. Okay. As questions continue swirling around I can't say her name. I can say it when I don't think about it. Sudiksha, the 20-year-old University of Pitt. Okay. A spokesperson for Riibe Hotels and Resorts, which oversees the Riibe Republica Hotel, said that there was a red flag placed on the beach around the time she vanished, which they described as a warning that the sea had a strong current and very high waves. Again, I don't think a red flag being placed on a beach is that useful at night. How are you going to see it? How are you going to see a red flag at night? How? Delaney Sweeney, 22-year-old senior at Northeastern University, who was also staying at the resort, tells people that the weather conditions were calm when she checked in on March the 3rd, but were very windy by March the 6th, the day Konanki was last seen on the beach. The beach had a red flag on it to warn people that currents were high. So regardless of what this clown says, this PI, what's his name, Toby Braun, saying, oh, it was really calm. Where does he say it? Toby Braun, step up, Toby Braun. Where are you? Where are you? Here we go. Here we go. We can't let it be dismissed as a drunk college on spring break scenario. Okay, Toby Braun. It's what a kidnapper would want. But how would a kidnapper get her away from the area? Is another problem. How would a kidnapper get away from the area? Braun, along with an expert on oceans, told dailymail.com her body almost certainly have washed up on the shore by now if she drowned, because it was really calm. An accidental drowning seems unlikely. The water wasn't rough that night, except that people who were actually there on that day said that it was windy, there was high waves and a red flag on the beach to denote a warning. Toby Folding. It's Peter Folding's cousin, isn't it? It's Peter Folding's cousin. So no, the water wasn't rough, no high tide and no rip currents. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so I think Delaney Sweeney, what was her name? Delaney Sweeney, 22-year-old senior at Northeastern University. I think this is the person that Ashley Banfield interviewed. This is from last week. So let's listen to this, because this is very interesting.
It's been almost 5 days since anyone's seen a 20-year-old spring breaker from the University of Pittsburgh. Sudiksha Konanki left a hotel bar in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic with a group of friends headed for the beach. Most of the friends were later seen leaving the beach, but Sudiksha stayed behind with a guy, and then the guy left without Sudiksha. My next guest was at the same resort on the same day. She says the waves were big and they were dangerous, and she has the video to prove it. Delaney Sweeney joins me now live.
Yep,
Delaney, the video that we were just showing.
So it's the same girl who spoke to the media, was interviewed on Banfield. I think she's been doing TikToks about the case. I think that's how people have found her, because she was there on the same day. All right. So as they start playing their footage, you see the red flag. So it's a big flag. You know, it's not just like a little person waving a flag. It's a big flag. However, at night, when you're drunk, you're not going to see the flag. You're not going to notice the flag. All right, you know, when you're drunk, you're all gung-ho, ready to go. These two, like I said, that surveillance, when I saw that surveillance video of them both being sick, I thought, there you go. That's the answer. That's the answer. That neither of them had their faculties about them. Both of them were as bad, probably as worse for wear as each other. Both drunk and both dehydrated. They're not thinking rationally, and Joshua ain't going to really remember all that much. That video clip didn't show big and dangerous waves. Well, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the flag. But that's just somebody videoing the beach. And those waves, I wouldn't go in the sea with waves like that because I hate water. Seems like they hooked up for sex on the beach. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. I would imagine that they're probably too wasted for that. But who knows?
Showing, and we'll show it again, does show red flags that the conditions were very rough and that the swimming would have been very rough. Do you remember it being that way on that day that Sudiksha went missing?
Yeah, I remember the waves being a lot bigger than they normally were. Me and my friends were on the beach, and I remember telling them that I was not going to go into the ocean because I know I could swim, but not that well enough to feel safe in the ocean. I know a couple.
I mean, those waves are fine. Those waves are fine. But what you don't want is to get caught off guard by a rogue wave. Like, not all waves are all of the same height, are they? The wave conditions that day were 1 to 2 foot that day into the next day. 1 to 2 foot is not harsh waves. Yeah, but let's say, for example, your waist height in the night and you are wasted, absolutely wasted. A wave comes along, knocks you off your feet, drags you out, you're coughing, you're spluttering. You're not that far off the shore. You're not far off the shore, right? But you're wasted. It's dark. It will be pitch black out there. So if Joshua's story is true, and he managed to, you know, grab her and bring them both back to shore, how do we know that she didn't just walk back into the sea and get taken by a wave that doesn't have to be huge? It's not like a massive tsunami. It doesn't have to be huge. All it has to do is take you off your feet. That's all it has to do. When you're wasted and you're disoriented and, you know, you don't know what on earth's happening, it doesn't have to be massively deep. It doesn't, you could be able to put your feet on the floor and you'd still drown. We don't know.
Friends that did go in, but they weren't in for a while, and there weren't as many people in the ocean as we normally would see.
So we know, you know, from your account and from your video that the waves were rough, that the surf was rough. What about the danger of the beach itself? Did anybody at the resort or anyone in the DR ever say to you, be careful at night going down the beach. Don't go down this way or that way, or don't wander off our resort part of the beach? Or did you even notice lots of police or patrols on the beach? What was that like?
There was no communication from the resort at all of, you know, this is...
Well, no, the resort, I mean, I can see it from the hotel's point of view that, you know, these are all adults and, you know, they may think they're doing enough by putting the red flag out. They're not going to be there like policing people, like telling people not to go in the water or limiting their drinks, because their business model is that it's all you can eat and all you can drink. So these resorts, you know, it's somewhat unscrupulous, but they rely on people like these two, you know, young adults, to pack out their hotels where, you know, they can eat and drink to the heart's content. They can hook up, they can go midnight swimming, they can go skinny dipping, and it's all fun and games until it isn't. Until it isn't.
Our beach safety, to be safe, it was kind of just left up to your own discretion. I know we would go down and another group of people would go down to take beach pictures. And one night there was a security guard whistling at people to come in from the beach that were going in.
All right, that's cool. I'm glad at that. So one night, now she doesn't say whether that's before or after March the 6th. But maybe when it's particularly rough, maybe they do have someone down there, like whistling and stuff. I mean, but what happens if they don't listen? What happens if they just carry on partying? What does the security guard, what are they able to do? Like grapple with them and pull them out of the sea, you know?
But that was the only night that I had seen it. And we went practically almost every day down to the beach to take pictures. And that was the only night that I saw.
But interesting that there was someone out there, a guard, who was whistling at anybody going into the water, like, come out, it's nighttime, it's not safe in there. I do have one other question. You had been quite, vocal on your social media about the terrible conditions at this hotel. I'll just tick off a few here. Key cards weren't working. You couldn't get in and out of your rooms. The water was shut off. The power was shut off. The AC wasn't working. There was no Wi-Fi. The towels smelled like vomit. There was bottled water that had to be...
Look at all those people. Is that in the hotel itself?
Used for everything. The food was bad. The drinks were bad. Do you think that maybe...
You know what? I'm not going to try and, slander this hotel meaninglessly, but the food was bad, the drinks were bad. What if you know, there was food poisoning in the mix as well, or drinks that were off. So they were more sick than they realized they actually were. What if they were sick? Yes, they were drinking, but we only witnessed them being sick once. We only see them being sick once on surveillance. How many other times had they been sick in the few hours before this? You know, and once you're sick, you kind of feel a little bit better, don't you? And Sudiksha obviously felt better because she was back at the bar, kind of jumping and hugging her friend. But if they'd been sick, their bodies are dehydrated, even before considering the amount of alcohol they've had. The effects of alcohol are going to be stronger on them. They're gonna be thinking irrationally. And my heart sank. My heart absolutely sank when I saw both of them being sick at the same time. I thought, there you go. It's not like one of them could be responsible and look after the other. They were both as bad as each other, and it's led to absolutely catastrophic consequences.
Maybe Sudiksha and the other kids and others were maybe down on the beach more than they would have been otherwise because the conditions at the resort seemed to be so bad?
See, smelly towels that smelt like vomit. So how easy would it be to pick up a bacterial infection in that environment? You've got all those people. You've got hygiene that maybe isn't completely up to scratch. It would be very easy to pick up an infection, which would heighten the effects of the alcohol, dehydrate your body, and look at the consequences. Look at the consequences.
I think that 100%. I know people that got locked out of their rooms, and because of the power being out for hours, days on end, the customer service was not able to help them or, regenerate their cards to work in their room. So people were sleeping in other people's rooms. They were sleeping on the pool chairs. They were sleeping by the beach. They were staying out as long as they could because there's no AC in the rooms, and the room could get 80 degrees plus.
You have been so helpful, Delani. Thank you so much. And as we continue to look into these questions, I may call you again just to see if the accounts that we're hearing from down there match what you saw when you were there at the same time. Thank you.
All right, Banfield's on the case. Banfield is on the case. I just want to show you this again. This surveillance. It bothered. My heart sank when I saw this. It really did. I don't need to have the volume on. Straight after this. So that they're okay there. They're okay there. And then here, we've got Sudiksha being sick, and we've got Joshua, who also looks like he's being sick at exactly the same time. Right, he was bent over, like, watch. He's bent over. She's now, like, ready to go again. So right at the same time, you've got imagine what the place is going to be like. Imagine having to clean that place. Imagine how many people are sick and you're standing in it and, oh, God, no. Yeah, walking gate's fine earlier on. Yeah, it is. And then when they're going to the beach, they are stumbling a little bit. Just a bit. These two seem okay. These two. It's handy steady. Okay. I think what I'm going to find really interesting, who I want to hear from is these two, the two friends who were there with this pair for nearly 2 hours. So what did these two witness? Were these two were they sober by the time these two left, or what? Because these two got back just before 6. So that's another 4 hours before Joshua comes back. Joshua only turns up at 10. So what did these two witness? You know, the last time that they clapped eyes on Joshua and Sudiksha. I can't say it when I think about it. Sudiksha. Were they drunk? Were they hyper? Were there other substances on board? I would imagine that substances are available if you wanted to partake. Were they all smoking? What was happening? What was happening in those 2 hours before these two arrived back at the hotel? These two are very important witnesses. So this whole water incident was after 6. Well, we don't know. We don't know. These two arrived home or back at the hotel shortly before 6 a.m. So they were all heading out to the beach at 4:15. They're caught on camera going out to the beach at 4:15. These two are caught coming back on the same camera shortly before 6. So where were these two? What time approximately did they leave these two? Now, if you look at the map, it does look like there's a little bit of a walk like to the beach. So I don't know where the cameras are. You can't go down to ground level either. So if you come in from right here, like I don't know where the camera will be, because the camera is like right behind them. So it's a bit difficult to know where the camera is actually positioned to catch them. So were they here when they got caught on camera, or were they right down here somewhere? If they're right down here somewhere, then it's a little bit of a walk to the beach, not too far, not very far at all, really, but let's say 10 minutes. You know, just give it down here. They're not walking very fast, are they? So I assume that those two had already vacated the beach by the time Joshua and Sadiq. You would assume. His story's unbelievable. I think his story's very believable. I'm not saying it's truthful. I'm saying it's believable. I'm reserving judgment. I don't know. All I'm saying is my initial fears were this is another Natalie Holloway. That was my first, and then the surveillance started to come out. He spoke out. And I thought, actually, I'm a little bit more reassured now that this isn't a Natalie Holloway. And this is absolutely tragic. 2 drunk people who got into trouble who got into massive trouble. And what I don't want is for Joshua's life to be ruined. You know, like the entirety of America accusing him of murder when he actually didn't do anything wrong. But I don't know. I don't know. We've only got his word for it. That's why these two girls, their testimony, like these two, they're really important witnesses. These two are really important to, you know, to know what state they were in. And presumably they must have thought they were in an okay state to leave them. Or else, why would they leave them? If they knew they were absolutely, completely and totally wasted, why did they leave them? Is it because they were also just really tired now and just wanted to go back to the hotel and didn't think there was anything problematic? Maybe they weren't even near the sea by when they left. Maybe they were all sat on the sun loungers and it was only after they left that these two decided to go in the sea. We don't know. We don't know. Yeah, alcohol, water, and young people. It's not a good mix, is it? It's not a good mix. Not a good mix at all. But her parents appear to have accepted the possibility that she's dead, which I find odd. I find really strange. I'm not saying that the parents have got anything to do with it, but I do find this odd after not even 2 weeks. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. Maybe it is a cultural thing. So she's a citizen of India, permanent resident in the United States. So her family are asking the police to declare her dead. After, we're on day 13. How strange is that? You know, can you imagine if that was Katie and Chris Profoot from the Sebastian Rogers case? After 2 weeks, they want Sebastian to be declared dead. Or Don Wells in the Summer Wells case. Can you imagine? The all of the internet would have exploded. I find that really strange. Now, I'm not saying they've got anything to do with it at all in any way, shape or form. I think maybe it is potentially a cultural thing. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was odd. Really, really odd. Maybe they just accepted that she's drowned. Maybe they've accepted that she's drowned and she's not coming back. But Dominican Republic National Police spokesperson Diego Pesquera said Ms. Konanki's family had sent the agency a letter requesting a declaration of death. NBC News reported on Tuesday, so just today. The Konanki family did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Monday night. Authorities in the Dominican Republic have confiscated the patent. Well, we know that. So we know that the Attorney General interviewed Joshua, not considered a suspect. Okay, so it's all right. The Konanki family sent a formal letter to authorities Monday acknowledging there is no suspected foul play. So they've accepted she's drowned. Wow. Wow. Like normally families, they're looking for somebody to blame, aren't they? They're not willing. Like imagine like the Nicola Bulley case, for example. Like her family were not willing to contemplate the possibility that Nicola had drowned. Like they needed someone to blame, that someone had her, that someone had kidnapped her, and potentially she was alive. That's what families do. That's what they do. They hold out hope even when there is very little hope and all the signs point to the person having drowned or whatever, you know, circumstance. I just find this really, really unusual. Really unusual. Really unusual that they aren't considering the possibility that she's been kidnapped. However unlikely that possibility is, given the location, it's possible. And in my experience, families do tend to hold on to the possibility, however unlikely it is, that their loved one is still alive, even when there's no evidence that points to it, even when the evidence points to the contrary. Well, the father and mother also wrote they trust the authorities' probe into the case and noted Mr. Riibe, the last person to see the young one alive, had cooperated with the investigators. Miss Konanki's parents said in the same letter that they understand that certain legal procedures must be followed for their request, but that they are prepared to comply with any necessary formalities or documentation. Sources were quoted as saying by ABC News. Miss Konanki, described by her father as an ambitious student who planned to study medicine. I mean, just an entire life gone. Entire life gone. I mean, there's no question of this family being involved in any way. They weren't there. They weren't on the island. They weren't there. Did the parents travel there? I think they're there now, but they weren't there when she went missing. Yeah, Natalie Holloway's parents were to the total opposite. They absolutely were. And usually they are. Usually they are. You know, they hold out hope even when evidence points to the contrary. I don't know whether it's a cultural thing or whether this is just something pretty unique about this family, that they are, you know, they've accepted what the Dominican authorities have said, and they've accepted that Joshua has complied and cooperated. And maybe they find it easier to think, well, she's drowned and that's it. I don't know. It's odd. Very odd. I find that odd. I do. I do find it odd. Targeted her because she was intoxicated. Yeah, but so was he. He appears to be in the same state as her. Her body is not where he said it was, but her body hasn't been found yet. Her body hasn't been found, my 2 cents, y'all. So how do you know where her body is? Because her body hasn't been found. So that's a meaningless statement, if ever I heard one. They would have found her body by now. Yeah, that's not how water works, I'm afraid. Thank you, Lou, for the $5 Did you notice the guy at the bar with the cap, hand gestures as she walked behind them? No, I didn't, but I will look now. Thank you for the 5. I will take a look. what, this person? He's playing with him. He's having a laugh with him. Like, slapping him in the face, like pretending to slap him. Or this one. Maybe this one. No, they're just working. I don't think there's anything suspicious in that footage at all, honestly. I really don't. I think if there was a kidnapper in the vicinity, they wouldn't be making very obvious hand signals. They wouldn't be in the bar making really obvious hand signals. So that's just my opinion. Drunk people make big gestures. They do. They totally do. They totally do. But how would a kidnapper get away without being caught on any cameras? Because, right, from the beach, so you can go down here. This place will be cameraed to the hilt. There'll be cameras everywhere, which takes you onto that road there and away, or down this way, which basically takes you to the same place. Like, so you'd have to walk her all that way. Like, you wouldn't be able to drive that way. Like, obviously you have to walk her from the beach. That looks like some kind of maybe access road. So you'd have to go this way. You'd have to have a vehicle waiting this way. I find it really unlikely. I mean, look, it does happen. It does happen. Obviously it happens. But I find it way more likely that she's drowned. I find it more likely that she's drowned than kidnapped. Life insurance. Do you really have life insurance on a 20-year-old kid? I mean, I guess some families do. But life insurance, no. Life insurance wouldn't pay out after somebody just missing for 2 weeks. Life insurance wouldn't pay out because there's no cause of death. So, no, I don't think the parents weren't there. The parents didn't know that anything like this could possibly happen. I don't think it's a matter of things like life insurance. I think it's just unusual. It's unusual that after less than 2 weeks, they would want her to be declared dead. It's, in my experience, it's with families, it's completely the opposite. But it doesn't mean to say that they did anything at all. I don't believe the parents are involved in any way, shape, or form. There's no way that they could be. There's no way that there could be. You missed something with the parents. The parents, the thing with the parents is that they've asked for the Dominican authorities to declare her dead. That's what's raising eyebrows. So they've sent a letter to the Dominican authorities to ask them to declare her dead. And she's only been missing since the 6th of March. Yeah, it would be religious reasons, not monetary. I think if anything, it's cultural, religious. I don't know whether the family is religious, but I think it's more likely to be a cultural difference or just a very unusual, family who have been able to put their head in a space of, well, she's drowned. The sea's right there. They've not seen that, he's been evasive, he's cooperated, and they've believed what the authorities have told them. And who's to say that's wrong? All I'm saying is that it's unusual. It's unusual. You can drink at 18 in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, it's 18 here. Got to order food, you're starving. Actually, so am I. I've not eaten anything today yet. It's 2:30 for me. The wave conditions are my issue. The wave conditions for me are the issue as well. That this person thought what this person said was interesting. That on that very day, the red flag was up. It was choppy. I won't say the waves were massive, but it's choppy. And it only takes, in the night when it'd be pitch black out there. Can't imagine there's any lighting or anything on that beach. When you're drunk, you're worse away, you're dehydrated, you're disoriented. And it just takes one wave to knock you off your feet. That's it. You're gone. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be a tsunami. It just has to be choppy to the point where you can't right yourself. Like swimming in the sea is very different. You could be a really strong swimmer in a pool, but not be able to cope in choppy waters. Surfers who are really experienced drown occasionally when they just get taken, they take a wave wrong, they misjudge something, or it's just a little bit higher than they expect. The water is dangerous. Please respect water. And it's even more dangerous when you've got alcohol inside you. Just in Florida last week, even sober, the ocean can be scary. It can. And it doesn't have to be high seas. It is strong. It's so I do think that's the most likely scenario, that Joshua's recollection. I'm not saying it's necessarily completely accurate, but it's believable. It's believable. And unless there's new information that comes out that completely, upends his story, let's say that these two young women come out, these two, that like the friends come out and say, oh, he was behaving like really lechy. He was, she was pushing him off and he wasn't taking no for an answer. Those kind of things. If they come out and say something like that, then my reply would be, well, why would you leave your friend? Why would you come back and leave your friend with a guy who wasn't taking no for an answer? I'd have words with these two. But there's no question that anything like that happened. There's been no evidence at all that anything like that happened. Like, she seems comfortable in his presence. Now, that doesn't mean to say that things could turn nasty later. Absolutely, things could. What I'm saying is there's no evidence of it, at this moment in time. That's why these two, I think, are very important witnesses. And I'm not willing to cast this young man as a criminal with no evidence. I'm just not. When an ocean is right there, and the most likely scenario is that because she's worse for wear, it's dark, the sea's choppy, she gets taken by it. That's more likely than any other scenario at this moment in time. And I listen, as with any case, I'd never wed myself to one theory, one idea, one line of thinking. As evidence, comes up, as information changes, so does my opinion. But at this moment in time, today, with the information we've got today, I think it's more likely that she drowned than any other scenario. So it's incredibly, incredibly sad that she's lost her life at a time when, she's just there having fun, as thousands and thousands of young people do every time they get the opportunity to go out and have a bit of fun. And just occasionally things end up really tragic. And I'll say it, as I've said before, please do not underestimate water. Please do not go near water. If you've had alcohol or any other substances, or you're feeling ill, please don't go near water, because it's dangerous. You don't recognize how bad things can get very quickly. Are you 100% sure she's dead? No one knows what happened to her. I'm just saying it's the most likely scenario at this moment in time. If there's sightings of her, though, after this time, then of course the chances of her being alive increases exponentially. But there hasn't been. And as more and more surveillance comes out, just a few seconds here, a few seconds there, it does seem that she's on quite a few cameras in different locations. And this is just what's been released or leaked to the press. So how much more surveillance cameras do the authorities have? I bet that hotel will have cameras all over it. Like for insurance purposes, it will be cameraed to the hilt for insurance purposes. So I bet the cops have got hours and hours and hours and hours of footage. And I bet they've been able to piece together like her movements. And what's important about that is that if they can piece together her movements and the places where, between the beach and her room, well, then what's the possibility that she came back at a different time? Zero, because she's not caught on any cameras. The chances of someone kidnapping her, it's not completely impossible, but it would be difficult from that location. And the chances of a kidnap being caught on camera, or at least leaving the area, would be pretty high. Because this road here, that looks like the access road, where you get like deliveries and stuff. Like goes in there. That looks like the drivable route. So out there, down here. It would be difficult. It wouldn't be impossible, though. It wouldn't be impossible. So the chances of her being alive, it's possible. I think it's more likely she drowned, though. I hope she's alive. I absolutely, of course, I hope she's alive. But, you know, facing facts, it's probably more likely that she isn't, based on the circumstances that we know today. But there may be information that comes out tomorrow, the day after, that changes that completely and you know, gives us a whole different spin on it. And I hope we do have information that comes out that leads us to believe that she could be alive. But what I don't want to do is criminalize a young man who's only 22 years old when there's no evidence that he's done anything wrong. I don't want to be that person. I never want to be that person. If evidence comes to light that contradicts that, then I'll change my opinion on a dime and I'll say, look, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And we can talk about that. But at this point, at this moment in time, it does look like the most likely scenario is that she drowned, really sadly. Didn't you just cover the 30-something-year-old twins, the girls that have been out and slipped into the river? Yes, in Scotland. We don't know how they got into the river. We don't know whether they slipped in or whether they intended to go in. We don't know the answer to that. But yes. Yeah, in Scotland. And took them a while to find them. Anyhow, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to keep following this case very closely and quietly, unless there's new developments. And then if there's new developments, I'll come back with a new round of thoughts, maybe. Yeah, baby Dan. Baby Dan. Little baby Dan. I've covered so many drowning cases. So many. Did you hear about the paddle boarders? No. Should I have done? Paddle boarders. Don't get predator vibes from Joshua. Me neither, but then again, what does a predator look like? You know, most predators just look like completely normal people. Oh, they were found today. I don't even know who they were. 2 paddle boarders. What about sharks? Yeah. The marine life is going to be an issue. And, you know, these supposed experts who come out and say, oh, well, you know, her body would have washed up by now, are not taking into account the possibility that marine life is kind of hungry. And marine life will take your body and disintegrate it very quickly. And then all that is left is bones, and the bones are much less likely to wash up than an entire body is. Two young female paddleboarders. Oh. No, I'd not heard about that. In Florida, I'd not heard about that case. Yeah, it was. It was one of the twins in Scotland, it was a completely unrelated person who saw one of them, and then the police found the other one. A chance to search for Darren? Not yet, no. Thursday. If he's not been found by Thursday, I will be going on Thursday morning. And I will report back. Oh, I had a client whose dog was staying in my dog hotel go into the water when red flag tide was posted. His kids were being pulled out by the rip tide. He went out to get them and he drowned. Oh God. It's just, water is scary. Do not underestimate it, even if you love it. I don't love it. I really don't love it. I really don't love it. But even if you love it, please respect it, and please don't underestimate it. Who's been found safe? Dumb Bunny. Bell Mountain twins case is a weird one. Yeah, I'd not heard of that one. It was it yesterday or the day before? It was Deets on the Streets that mentioned it in a live stream. I went and had a look at it. And yeah, that is a weird one. So, twins, young men who were supposedly going to Boston were found by a hiker, shot to death on the top of Bell Mountain, which is somewhere in Georgia, and they were meant to be in Boston. Now, it's been dubbed a murder-suicide, but the family don't believe it. Who was it who was found safe? Somebody said found safe, and I don't know who was found safe. So it's great when people are found safe. If you get caught in an undertow, don't fight it. Swim parallel to the shore and get out of it. I just hate water. I'd drown. I know I would. I know I would. Oh, the paddle boarders were found safe. Okay, interesting. I'll go and look that up. All right, I'm going. I did say I was going 10 minutes ago, but I am actually going this time. So thank you to Lou for the $5 earlier on. And thanks as always to the mods. Always appreciated. And I'll see you soon. Don't know what Cassie will do tomorrow. You never know with me. You never know. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak soon. Bye, guys.